Okay, so here is my finished bag. So I have turned it right side out. Okay, I'm looking at it. I'm fairly happy with it. I think, you know, as a weaver, as a very new weaver, I'm nowhere. I see some imperfections. So again, this is the right side of my bag. I chose the blue for my warp thread. It wasn't a designer choice. It was because I had so much blue left. When I purchased it, I didn't look closely. And this is a 2-ply type of wool. And I don't really have any use for it because the wool I like to use is 4-ply. So I thought I would just use it as my warp thread because it's not visible, right? It's not visible in the weaving. But where it is visible is at the top. So designer choice, you know, choose your warp threads carefully. So the inside of my bag, you can see, you know, I've woven in all those edges. I've taken the plastic needle and gone down, kind of followed the line of the warp threads, so that gives it a nice finishing touch. And just to close off with this, I really want to acknowledge Anjeannette Dawson from Squamish Nation. She has been teaching teachers about Coast Salish weaving and making quarter bags for a number of years. She's done some workshops, a number of workshops through the University of British Columbia at their math symposium, the Indigenous Math Symposium. So I think as classroom teachers, we can teach how to weave, but that's only part of the Indigenous connection. So when you bring in a knowledge keeper, someone like Anjeannette Dawson, Janice, or Hereditary Chief Janice George, or so many other master weavers that are in our local area, they can teach you about the history of Coast Salish weaving. They can teach you about where what materials were used prior to contact. So in this area, the Coast Salish people used the woolly dog. Well, how did they harvest that wool? How did they take care of that animal? Once the woolly dog was no longer available, then it became the mountain goat wool. So they can talk to how, you know, how did they know where the mountain goat lived and when was a good time to harvest the wool without hurting the animal? And you know, how did they wash and prepare and card and spin and dye that wool? And then what are all the cultural teachings that go into Coast Salish weaving? What are the cultural teachings in the types of designs that are made? So I guess I hope the takeaway that you get from this, students and teachers, is that we can always learn how to replicate some First Nation art, but it's just a craft unless we get that Indigenous knowledge and teaching that goes behind it. So to all the weavers who have taught me some basic weaving courses, I want to thank you. And teachers, I really encourage you and students to seek out workshops that are offered through true master weavers, people like Janice George and Deborah Sparrow and Jessica Sylvie. There are lots of people who offer these workshops, and they teach you that incredible, important Indigenous knowledge. I hope you have enjoyed this, and yeah, I'm so pleased with my bag. I'll try not to worry about the blue. I have heard weavers say that, you know, the Creator has taught us to be humble in some ways, and by doing that, we always try and make one mistake in our weaving just to show our humbleness. So I'm going to say my blue, my choice of blue warp threads is my humbleness. Cook Strachem.